Go live, going live, you're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the party. It is qualifying day. Okay, there we go, we're live. Wonderful. Good to see you all. Good day, Mousedown. Welcome to the chat. We are back. It's a Grand Prix weekend again. It's been a couple of weekends off, one weekend off. It's felt like kind of a long time since Miami, but it's good to be back. And today's going to be fascinating because in many respects, today is the important day. The Imola Grand Prix, what are the likelihoods that we actually get a good race tomorrow? That's a question, but qualifying is going to be very important. I'm just going to try and tilt this camera down without accidentally unplugging the camera, which I've done many a time before, so I'm just going to be careful. There we go. See a bit more of me now. Yeah, apparently this is Daniel Ricciardo, by the way. Apparently this is Daniel Ricciardo. But welcome everyone to the show. We do, of course, have some better pictures to look at as time goes on, such as this one that Lewis Hamilton just reposted on his Instagram, which is, you guys can't quite see it, I'll just move the chat out of the way for a second. We've got Roscoe, we've got Leo, Imola Grand Prix. I mean, look, Ferrari can only hope, they can only wish for a weekend like this. But yo, what's good everyone? All right, guys, welcome to the stream if you're new here. Press the like button. I'm going to be counting you all down to the Grand Prix because, well, the Grand Prix qualifying anyway, because no sprint this weekend, traditional circuits, and interesting practices so far, all dominated by McLaren in terms of the top numbers, but that doesn't necessarily tell the full picture of what's going to happen today, who's going to be the dark horse for the day. We've got a lot to get into. But yeah, this is, hang on, let me go back to the Danny Rick pick. If you guys are just joining us, I don't know, I just refreshed Twitter one time before I went live and I saw someone tweet this out, which apparently is Danny Rick enjoying his retirement. People keep linking him to come back to Cadillac, right, or somewhere. But, like, I don't think he wants to do it. I mean, I watch Kim Illman's content a lot. His understanding is that Danny Rick's effectively done. He's not like, he doesn't really want to come back to F1. But we'll see. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Quali and floor allegations. Yeah, what a day. Honestly, today, FFKM was probably the longest time I ever spent preparing a Valorant video because just so much stuff had happened that I needed to figure out. Quali starts in just under an hour, 3 p.m. my time here at BST, 4 p.m. Central European time in Imola, and then Grand Prix tomorrow is 1 hour earlier than this. So, but yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. Only 20 likes, come on stream. I know it can do better than that. But yes, all good. We got lots to talk about. I mean, okay, I'll probably touch on some of this stuff in the video later. And actually, I'm going to skip over some of the Max stuff. I am going to quickly get into some of the Christian Horner drama. I am just going to stop down to the small camera screen. Here we go. Okay, greetings from Nico from Hungary. I've never been to Hungary. I actually really want to go to Hungary. For the Grand Prix, but just I want to go to Hungary in general. Because I've been to Romania, I've been to Poland, I've been to a few places, but Bulgaria, but I've never been to Hungary. Not yet, anyway. So, anyway, we saw the Christian Horner drama over the last few days. If there's any internet issues, by the way, because YouTube has just told me YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, although my drop frames says 0. So it's looking fine to me. If there's any issues, let me know and or refresh the stream. And hopefully you can't hear my fan in the background, but it is a little bit toasty here today. So this is interesting, right? If you guys didn't see all this news over the last few days, there was talk about maybe Horner could be on the chopping block if Red Bull's upgrades this weekend don't work. The interesting thing about this is that it came from the Austrian press initially. It was Austria who was talking about this. And then the Italians picked up on it because, you know, Italian press, all that good stuff. But just funny that initially this came from Austria because Helmut Marko's Austrian. So I don't know if there's anything really to that. But, you know, anyway. Marko says, complete nonsense. Don't know what you're all talking about. Horner's not going anywhere. Red Bull have denied it themselves. You know what? I choose to believe it for the time being. But we'll see. Especially because Max made some of the more interesting remarks today that I've ever heard him make about Red Bull. Because Max, if you ask him about his contract, for the last few years, Max has always said, look, I've got a contract until 2028. Here is, you know, this is where I'm going to be, right? Max today says, now he says this to the Telegraph, of course, you know, his boy Eric Van Haren, they're close to the Verstappens. I always said that to the team, unless things go really strangely, a departure is not my intention at the moment. I mean, that's like, this is the closest that I've ever seen Max to basically saying, yeah, I'm thinking about it, right? Like that, I mean, does that not like kind of what this comes down to? Especially because of how good Max is with PR. A departure is not my intention at the moment. I want to see how it goes for the rest of the season, or at least part of it goes. That big, decent steps can be taken by the team. The upcoming races are very important. Also for my future. I'm not even talking about next year, but in general. I think everyone in the team realises that. So, these are some of the strongest words I've really ever seen from Max on the question of his future as a driver. I mean, we're not even talking about Red Bull here. We're talking about Max. Look, he was at the Nordschleife just a couple of days ago testing a GT3 car and apparently set the lap record. And, I mean, as you say, Ashley, right, like at least part of it. So, I mean, but it is important because Max will make his decision for what he wants to do next year. He's not going to make it after Abu Dhabi. He's probably going to make it at the summer break. So, the next few rounds are going to be massively important. Quali starts in 54 minutes. Based on my time. So I run these shows about an hour before qualifying and the race starts. Max is never this open with press that isn't the Dutch media. Just is what it is. Like Max is not going to be this upfront. But I mean, again, Max always knows what he's doing with his comments to the press, right? Because he knows that this puts pressure on Red Bull. He knows it puts some pressure on Horner and the team to deliver. Whether we're talking Mercedes there, I know that there's been let's just say the 2026 engines have taken a pretty interesting turn in what people are talking about, because the talk was always, okay, Merc are going to have the best engine, it's going to be unbeatable, good luck to the rest. And that might still be true, but also different teams work with different fuel suppliers, and there's a big feeling that the biofuels or the sustainable fuels they're using next year, Petronas might not be as well positioned as others. I don't want to give the Ferrari copium too much gas because, we've all been there. But Ferrari obviously are working with Shell, and the feeling is that Shell have been doing a lot of work on their sustainable fuels, possibly more than the other fuel suppliers. So even if the Merc engine is the best, it might not be so straightforward. Obviously, Honda, they might not have the best engine, but they're working with Aramco, and that seems to provide some of its advantages too. So, 2026 is very interesting. I think really nobody knows. Obviously, Mercedes are considered to be favourites, and Max might go there. Max might take a year off to do Le Mans, drive the... I mean, he could even do the 500 potentially, but... I mean, do you think Max would do the Indy 500, try and do the Triple Crown? Possibly. I just don't think... I think the fans treat, as much as I love the Indy 500, I think the fans treat the Triple Crown with more... The Triple Crown is win Le Mans, win the Monaco Grand Prix, win the Indy 500. I think the fans treat it with probably more... I don't know. It counts more for the fans than for the drivers. I don't think there's that many drivers that care that much about it. Obviously, Fernando tried to do it, which is pretty exciting. But I don't really think that's what Max is going to do. But, I mean, look, he's got his daughter now, so you'd think he might take a year out to do, to be with family. But instead of that, 1 week into his daughter's birth, he's at the Nordschleife. So I think Max is just built like that, I guess. Anyway, that's the kind of Max piece. Yeah, Eunice's Indy 500 is luck-based. There's obviously a lot of luck involved in the 500, for sure. Like, you have to get lucky. But also, it is... I mean, Alex Plough's not won it yet. Maybe this is his year. I mean, Alex Plough's been absolutely crushing it in IndyCar at a level that I've never seen. So, I've not watched IndyCar for that many years, but it's still a bit of a joke what he's doing over there right now. So, anyway, that's the Max Verstappen piece. But I know that we wanted to talk about qualifying a little bit. Now, I didn't touch on this in yesterday's video, but I did want to get your guys' perspective on this live here. So, look... South American fans of any sport and esports are controversial sometimes to the rest of the world. And this is a big talking point over the last few weeks when, well, how to put this exactly, Jack Doohan was apparently receiving threats, death threats to his family. People had found his personal inbox and were sending him emails because, of course, he was as some of the Colapinto fans saw it, hogging the seat that was rightfully Franco's. Anyway, yesterday Tsunoda wasn't very happy that he got impeded by Franco, and he sticks his middle finger up. And, well, I mean, I probably can't share these, let's say, screenshots on screen for too long because, you know, we might be at risk of a little bit of demonetization. But, like, you know, I do want to just share some of this because, I don't know, like, look, racism in sports it does exist, and it does exist in the UK and in Europe. I mean, certainly some countries in Europe it's worse than others. But in the like, as a British sports fan, the concept of, like, you know, racism from fans isn't really top of mind. But look, when it comes to certain fans, and it's not like it's Franco's fault. It just is what it is, unfortunately. But I don't know. I mean, I was looking at some of these comments. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is what we're doing. And I know that people are going to say, Franco should come out and say something. Like, he should say, look, we've got to be. And if you guys follow some of my esports stuff, you'll know that recently there's a few South American organizations there's one of them called Crew Esports. They're actually partially owned by Lionel Messi and Sergio Aguero. And their fans were doing a similar thing. So, like, they're an Argentine team and they played a Brazilian team, and there was all sorts of chaos hitting the timeline, as you might expect. Stuff like this, obviously, but, you know, obviously put towards the Brazilians and the other way around. You guys know how it goes. And they came out and they did a statement, and they said, look, you know, like, we don't condone our fans acting in this way. So, look, I'm not going to blame Franco for this. It is what it is. It would be the case for any driver from that region. It's just, unfortunately, it is just outrageous. So, you know, like, I just wanted to quickly mention it because it didn't really, like, deserve a segment of a video, but I thought I'd go through it real quick. But do I make COD and F1 videos for your job? Yeah, that's right, Andrew. It's actually pretty fun. So yeah, that was about Tsunoda, but then there was similar things happening for Doohan before. So, you know, it is what it is. Obviously, it is Colapinto's first weekend back with the team, which is pretty exciting, or back in Formula One. He's obviously not been crushing it so far on the weekends, but it's still early days. I do also have this from Briatore. Now, it's a bit confusing, this Flavio guy. Okay, I mean, we know Flavio Briatore, right? We know what he's up to. But he keeps making comments about Doohan. I mean, he actually said that Doohan was disappointing or something. I think I saw that somewhere. I'll actually find that quote real quick. He mentioned how Doohan, like, he expected more. I think that's what he said. He expected more from Doohan. I think the reality is it just didn't matter what Doohan did within reason. I think he was probably getting the boot anyway. But yeah, this is what Briatore said. I expected more from Jack Doohan. Now he's got rid of him. And now he says about Colapinto, Franco will race as much as needed. I read somewhere that he will have 5 races, but no, there is no set limit. He needs to be fast, not crash, and score points. Of course, the easy joke about this is, well, okay, of course, don't crash unless, you know, I happen to mention that maybe it might be a good idea to help out Pierre Gasly if there happened to be a safety car. That's, a different discussion. But of course, don't crash unless it's convenient and score points. I'm only asking him these 3 things. If he does them well, he will drive forever, which of course is fair enough. But yeah. But Briatore, it's funny because he's not technically the team principal, but obviously effectively he is. So yeah, this is how it is. It's just Flavio things, really. Flavio looks 20 years older than he actually is. I mean, Flavio's been around forever, really. Flavio Drive to Survive, man, that would be a time. Do not understand what he says. He talks like he's got a mouthful of bubblegum. Yeah, it's probably true. Yeah, look, we're going to talk about qualifying shortly, predictions, setup, what you guys think about it in the comments. Appreciate having like 800 of you guys here already, by the way. I've only been live about 14, 15 minutes. EWC qualifier run out artist crashing out. I'm sure there were some crash outs going on in the Valorant world. So let's talk about qualifying. I did want to quickly share this graphic. I mean, I probably might mention this in the video later today, but I think these graphics are just completely fake news. I honestly don't even know why the hell they do them. I don't know if it's like, oh, it's an AWS activation, but they pump these graphics out, and I swear this is useless. So, car performance, Australia to Miami. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, right? Because, I mean, I might sound like I'm just moaning for no reason here. But correct me if I'm wrong. These numbers are simply comparing race pace from the Australian Grand Prix to the Miami Grand Prix. As in, okay, in Australia, the pace was X. In Miami, the pace to the leader was Y. So let's just compare the two. But of course, that doesn't consider any of the nuance of the fact that some of these tracks are very different for some cars than others. Like to say that, look, racing bulls, yeah, they have regressed since the start of the season. But arguably part of that regression is just that the track didn't suit them as well. Like, is Red Bull's car slower now than it was at the start of the year? Because this graphic implies that Red Bull's car is slower today than it was at the start of the year, which I can almost guarantee you is not true. They've brought a couple of upgrades which have given them more downforce. The team have said it. It's just the fact that in Miami, the track temperature, the conditions, keeping the tyres where in the right window compared to the McLarens was not possible. Australia was a better suited track for the Red Bull. I think everyone would agree. Anyway, so that's what annoys me about these stupid graphics, because like Red Bull is not a slower car now than it was at the start of the year, but this graphic will tell you that it is, which is ridiculous. Okay, it's relevant to say, look, Haas, for example, right? Are they half a second faster now than they were at the start of the year? No, they were just terrible in Australia. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about the way that they designed these graphics, but like, it's compared to the fastest, yeah. Like, what you need is, it needs to be like a moving average, right? So we can, instead of just taking, oh, Australia pace was this, Miami pace was this, we need a moving average across the Grand Prix. And then that will give you an indication of whether they've actually got faster. Like, Haas's car hasn't just got massively better. They just had a major issue with their car that meant they were terrible in Australia. But is the Haas now like, wow, what a turnaround from a Haas? They've brought loads of upgrades. Like, no, that's not what this is telling you. So, anyway, whatever. Apparently Ferrari have got quicker. I just think these are fraudulent graphics, but it's just my opinion. Just wanted a quick little rant on that, because I see these AWS graphics and I'm always... I mean, maybe this isn't AWS, I don't know. Den says you should talk after qualifying, not now, fella. Don't worry, I'll be talking after qualifying. Don't worry about that. I'll be back again. That's what we do here on the channel. These graphics are just a segment they can talk about. Yeah, I mean, look, respectfully, they're also a segment that I could talk about, so I'm not gonna... Can't hate on the graphics, and I've just got a little 5-minute content piece roasting them. But still my opinion. We will talk about Alpine, because Alpine have had a pretty good weekend so far. It is one of the circuits that it shouldn't be as disastrous for them. It's not as heavy a power circuit as some of the others. So Alpine should be expected, I think, to be a bit stronger here than they have been recently. Sky Germany also said the Sauber is slow in the graph because of a good result from Hulk in the rain. Yeah, exactly. So, whatever. Ferrari 6th fastest. What a moment we're living in, says Diego. Yeah, here we are again. You know what? I've got a better graphic to show you, and the better graphic is this one. This is practice 2 comparison last year compared to this year. Now, Imola is an interesting track. I know people are going to talk about whether it should stay or it should go. I actually might throw that in a little poll real quick, if I can figure out how to do it. But while I figure that out, this is the comparison between last year and this year's practice times in the second practice session. Alpine have improved by a second and a half year on year. And there is one team that may be not doing quite as well compared to... And also, let's not forget, by the way, that the tyres this year are a step softer. They're on the C6, which might not necessarily be fair, because the C6 tyre seems to just disappear after just a couple of like corners, basically. But yeah, I mean, most teams have improved by a pretty sizable margin, and Ferrari are once again absolutely nowhere. I'm just gonna throw this poll in. I mean, it's kind of a fraudulent poll because I know that most of the answers are going to be yes. I should have probably phrased this a bit better. But the point that I'm trying to make is, like, Do people really like Imola? Okay, ignore the question that I've actually asked. Do people like Imola? Because today I'm buzzing. Quali today is going to be real exciting, I think. But would I miss Imola if it was gone from the calendar? It's very pretty. It's very aesthetic. It's very pure. Like this is, like Imola is very pure F1. So I'm not actually sure what my answer is on this, because I think over the last few days I have said, look, if they have to get rid of Imola, I'm not going to miss it, which is kind of true. But I do think that, I don't know, there's so much history of this track. It's just so picturesque, and I don't know. I do love it, right? I do love Imola. But if you have to give me one Italian Grand Prix, I'm taking Monza. So, but why not both, right? And we've got an Italian driver now. And we've got Ferrari, the best team in Formula One, as you can tell by the graphic. Yeah, okay. I think the percentages are about right. Because look, if you're going to ask people, okay, do you keep Imola do you get rid of Imola and bring in another race in Saudi? People are going to say, well, no. I'd prefer not even Saudi, but let's say we're talking about, a street race in Bangkok or something. Like, do we really want that? No way, Franz Herman's in the stream. Welcome, Franz. Pleasure to have you. You know what? Given Franz is here, I will quickly just share what Franz had to say yesterday. Actually, maybe it was today. So this is a pretty banging tweet. Now, I mentioned this in a video the other day because it was a big rumor that was going around. I'll just end the poll right there, but thanks all for voting. And we do have 1,000 people in it now, so welcome all. If you're watching the stream and you've not yet liked it, don't know what you're playing at. It's free. Well, obviously only like if you're actually enjoying the show. Otherwise you can dislike or whatever, unsubscribe, all that good stuff. But anyway, so I mentioned this a couple of days ago because Max set the lap record apparently on his third lap. And I'm like, look, it's Max Verstappen. Okay, it's Franz Herman, but it's Max Verstappen, right? So I'm not, and he's driven the track a million times on the simulator. So I wouldn't be surprised if Max turns up and delivers a great lap. But I still thought it was the suggestion that Max on his third lap broke the lap record at the Nordschleife in the GT3 category seemed a bit like ambitious to me. And there was rumours about it at the time. What's good, Benji? Welcome to Mick. Appreciate you. Welcome to the membership club. Thanks very much indeed. Get the little TR logo that I've had for years at this point. Might change it at some point. Thanks very much. So anyway, the idea was that Max did a 748 at the Nordschleife the other day, but the theory was, the paddock talk at the time was that, well, Max's car was basically just a bit more powerful than it would otherwise be. And Maro actually mentions it here yesterday that he was running with, the DTM spec rather than the Nordschleife spec, and with less weight, more power, lower ride height, whatever. And then he says, still impressive for a first visit. Would be cool to see Franz compete. But yeah, it turns out Franz is just that good, because I rate this tweet heavy from Max yesterday, where he said, he tweeted this out after midnight in Imola. False. Don't spread things when you don't know how the car was set up on our engine settings. Why would I join an LSS track day with the wrong balance of performance? Have a good one tomorrow. Thumbs up. And then obviously he hits the replies as well. The paddock chat was incorrect then. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff really. I honestly love how Max just stood on business here, because that was, as I say, the big rumour was that Max was really fast, but didn't break the lap record officially. And okay, it's still unofficial. But anyway, so with Franz Herman in the chat, I thought I'd mention it. But yeah, I will please be respectful. Yeah, I'll try my best. I will try my best. But I thought that was pretty great. Okay, everyone wants to know predictions for qualifying, what's going to happen. So let's have a quick look through what's happened over the last day or so. I'll just bring up some of the practice results that we have seen so far. While I'm doing that, I'll bring up the practice results that we just had for FP3. And look, we've seen this before, that McLaren in the final practice session just seem a little bit untouchable. And then when qualifying happens, it's a bit closer. I think it should be close. I'm not expecting a massive delta here. We're talking a track which is relatively short. It's a 1:15 lap time. But it must be said, George Russell made the point known as well that these tyres, the new C6 compounds, probably helps the McLarens. And honestly, to me, this is a big weekend on my Pirelli hate watch, because I hate watch Pirelli. I don't really care. Drivers, I'm not prone on anyone's downfall, but I don't like Pirelli, respectfully. I'm in favour of bringing back Bridgestone or Michelin. That's my take. But, I'm sure there's some Pirelli lovers out there, but I'm not a fan of the tyres. And I just don't think Pirelli make good tyres for Formula 1, my personal opinion. And the drivers would agree. Now, the drivers always complain about the tyres. The drivers never happy with the tyres, so I get it. But I would like to see a change. Now, if you're going to bring in the C6 compound, it better work for a lap. That would be nice. Can we do one lap on the tyre? That would be nice. At flat out speeds, most of the cars can't. Only it seems the McLaren can. And look, if that's the trade-off that we've got to have to get a two-stop race, to make the other tyre compounds softer, so we have to two-stop it, then sure. But I'm telling you, tomorrow's going to be a one-stop. The teams will find a way. They will find a way to just manage these tyres, because this is just how it goes. Bugatti don't use Pirelli, well said. 2x champ with the $2 thank you very much for watching you since W19. Now you got me into F1. Okay, absolutely. You know what? I love that. Comments like that make my day, honestly. Because that's the number one thing I want to do, is help people follow scenes that I'm passionate about. And F1 is just great, as you guys know. Anyway, I'm just a Pirelli hater, Adam, to be honest. I'm just a Pirelli hater. I'd bring back Bridgestone if it were me. I know the people have their perspective on what tyres they want, right? But I just think they're fraudulent, man. Pirelli's Inters are fraudulent. The wet tyres are useless. I mean, the drivers even talk about how they'll come into the pits, they'll put on a new set of mediums, and it'll feel completely different to the older ones. Yeah, Firestone, maybe, from the IndyCar series. We've got the Firestone Red, the Firestone Black, or whatever it is. I don't know if they still use those two compounds, but appreciate you, Ryx, from Australia. You're the man. Who do I think will get pole? Look, I'm going to keep up my belief. I don't know if it's my... You know what? I've not actually even thought about this until now. But my opinion is that this championship between Lando and Oscar is not going to be clear-cut. I think Piastri is the favourite. Would I consider him to be the favourite at this point? I think I have to. But I still think Lando is gonna come good at some point. And the thing is, the more I listen to Lando talk, the less I believe that. But I also, because the way that, I don't know, for me, his mentality, obviously you guys know my thoughts on his mentality. And, not just me saying this, right? A load of former drivers agree. But he is just really, really quick. And I think in Spain, for example, Lando's been so good in Spain the last few years. I know that we're him and Irina. Let me, make it very clear that this is not the Spanish Grand Prix. But my feeling is that, this is the time of the season where Lando's going to kick on. That's my take. We'll see. But is anyone going to be able to take pole off any of these fellas? Piastri was faster the first couple of practice sessions. Lando was faster this morning by a tenth. We're talking some quick lap times here now, by the way. I mean, yesterday we were in the 1:16s, then it was the 1:15s, now we're into 1:14s in the final part of quali. But I do expect Lando... My expectation is that Lando is going to start taking over the qualifying battle internally. Race pace, not even race pace. Racecraft, different story. But my opinion is that Lando... I mean, how many races have we got? 18 left? I think Lando's going to win the quali head-to-head in the last 18 races. 11-7, something like that. That's just my kind of gut feel prediction. But it might not be enough. It might not be enough to win the title. You never know. And I might just be completely talking out my ass there, by the way. It's just I just think Lando, I don't know. I want to really believe in Lando. I really do want to believe in him. I think Piastri, you just know what you get with Piastri. You know what you get. He's quick. He's consistent. He doesn't make mistakes. But he's just a bit boring, right? Respectfully, I think it's good to be a boring driver. I think there's no, if I was a driver, I'd like to be considered a boring driver. Because, I don't know if I'd like to be considered, but, it's nice to be a driver who just wins. I think my opinion is Piastri's a bit like Rosberg. I don't know if you guys agree with this take, but I think, you know, he's good. He maximizes what he can. Mentally he's committed. He might not be the most talented out there, but he's very, very talented and will maximize his opportunity. I think if you put Piastri against, I mean, look, it's still early days in his career. I don't know. Max is not a boring driver. People are going to say, how is he boring? You can't tell me that Piastri is the most exciting driver on the grid. I don't know. It is what it is. It's just my take. Like, it's nothing against Piastri at all. Like, I think it's great to have a character like that on the grid. But I don't get excited about... And Piastri wins a race and he sounds like Max when he won in 2023. It's like, okay, good job, guys. Which is fine. Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Like, David makes a good point about Piastri's overtaking. Like, I think... Look, every driver wheel to wheel is not going to be boring. I mean, the only driver who's boring wheel to wheel is Bottas because he just always got overtaken. Obviously, Max is not... When Max was winning everything, then I guess it was boring that he won, but he still wasn't a boring driver whenever he went wheel to wheel with someone. So I do get that. But, I don't know, Piastri's just a cool customer, you know? Maybe boring isn't the right word. Rosberg comparison is not far. Don't know. Everyone's going to have their opinion. But yeah, Piastri is better against Max. Your bias is palpable. Everyone's biased. Everyone is biased. But, and I also think there's probably a bit of British bias as well. Like, I think I would probably like to see Lando win the championship. But I also think that Oscar is the favourite and he's getting better and better. I think Max can still take pole. I think definitely, yes, it's possible. I just hate colonial talent. Colonial talent, that's interesting. Colonial talent. So Lance Stroll, does Lance Stroll fall under colonial talent? People think Piastri is boring. How? I don't know. I mean, it's like, if I had to rank... Look, okay, let me just say it in this way. I am a content creator and I talk about personalities, fundamentally. I like drivers who have a personality and say things that are going to make them interesting. Now, Piastri is actually getting better at this. For example, the way I think about it is, which drivers in order of likelihood are most better to be on a thumbnail? So, Hamilton's great because he's massive and he says whatever. Max is fantastic. Lando's pretty good, getting there. Charles Leclerc's good. Carlos Sainz is always dramatic. So is George Russell as well. It's obviously the drivers in order. Piastri is now going to start winning everything. So he's in the mix. And to be fair, Piastri the other day said a pretty spicy thing about Lando. He said that right now the best driver is winning between the pair of them, which I thought was good. I was like, you know what, Oscar, keep doing a bit more of that, and you won't be as boring to me. That's just my take. It's not like I'm trying to, it's just how it is. Like, at the end of the day, that's just the content brain in me. I like the drivers that cause some intrigue. Are the brakes working? But we should actually do predictions, shouldn't we? Because this is the practice 3 classification. Norris, Piastri, Max. Who else should I throw in there for pole? Should I throw George in there? It's probably the most sensible take. Never seen Gunter on the thumbnail. Fernando's having a nightmare. Look, we'll see. I know that Adrian Newey said the other day that he's found something in the new regulations. So we'll see if that comes true. LN4, Oscar Piastri 81, MV1, and we can go... We'll put George in there, with the new Mercedes upgrades. See what you guys think about this. We're voting for pole. I mean, I don't know really why I put these numbers in like that, but you guys can guess what we're talking about there. I don't think Piastri isn't... No, Piastri's on the track, he's not boring. But also in the same way that Charles Leclerc... It's like Marc Marquez. If you guys follow MotoGP, Marquez might win, but there's always a chance that he crashes at any moment. And kind of Charles Leclerc is like that. Because what I love about Charles is that I mean, maybe I think it's still true today, but with Leclerc, the amount of qualifying laps we saw from him a couple of years ago where he was absolutely right on the limit. Like, he was right on the limit of what physics would allow. And it's kind of insane, but I love watching it. Whereas Piastri is very sensible. And there's nothing wrong with, like, the way that Piastri drives, it's great. When I say boring, I'm not criticizing Piastri. What I'm saying is that his approach is more sensible. Like, he won't try and kiss the apex and touch the wall on the exit to gain the extra 100. He'll be satisfied because his car is great with qualifying second or third and then taking advantage of errors ahead, which is a very percentage play. It's the way to drive, right? But like, I think we've seen that a few times this year where Oscar probably could have got pole but didn't commit the final little edge. Coin says Piastri is like a Prost. Yeah, I see that. I see a bit of Professor in there. I see a little bit of like, look, let's take no risks in qualifying. Let's not, obviously you've got to take some risk, but Oscar will, he's not going to make a big mistake in quali like Lando did, right? Like the reason why Lando is more exciting than Piastri is because Lando sometimes is just going to put it in the wall, right? like he did in Saudi. Piastri doesn't do that. And there's nothing wrong, but Piastri also doesn't get the pole because Max is the one absolutely on the limit, right? So that's just my point with Oscar. I don't know. It's not a criticism. It's actually a positive trait because if you're racing guys like Max and guys like Norris, you need to be like, if you're, Prost is a good comparison. Like if you want to beat Lando, you want to beat Max, drive like Prost. It's probably a good idea. But it's not, you're not going to see Piastri send like some insane dive bomb. I know he did it in Baku last year. So we did, but I mean, again, it's not all the time. No driver is like one thing all of the time. Just how it is. No, Max doesn't crash in quali either. But Max also extracts everything without crashing because he's Max. Piastri is what MBS wants all drivers to be. Yeah, you know what? I've got someone who kind of agrees with me. And that's okay. It's okay. Okay, qualifying begins in 20 minutes. I'm just having a quick look here. Oh, look at that. I'm looking at the live broadcast and guess who they're talking about? It's Ferrari. So we'll have to do a quick segment on Ferrari. You guys are still voting in the poll. Wow, the poll is really close today. Really close. Wow, every second I'm watching, it's changing between who's going to get pole. Second ago, you guys were saying Max. Now you guys are saying Oscar. I'll give it a few more minutes. We're only in 3 minutes into the poll. But I did want to have a quick little word about Ferrari, why it's such a disaster class. This is a little screenshot I took here from practice earlier. Feast your eyes on this one. We've got Lando at this point was P1. Piastri eventually went P2. Look, Max on the mediums, that was a really impressive lap. Okay, quick little take. Do we think... I'm going to end this poll, actually, because you guys have voted Oscar to win. Pretty close, but I'm going to do another poll. Do we see any teams use mediums in Q3? And I mean this to actually set a lap on. Because these soft tyres, these C6 tyres, for some teams, were not working. And my question is whether the teams will decide that, you know what, the C5 may simply be the better tyre. The McLarens will use the C6, sure. But yeah, exactly. Mercedes love a medium tyre qualifying. The mediums are quicker over a lap. Yeah, I don't know. It's a real interesting question to me. The softs are terrible. Rab, shave it all off. Is Lewis on pole? If Lewis is on pole, would you? I don't exactly know what you're trying to say. But yeah, you know what? Ferrari, we'll see if they can make it to Q3. It's, Ferrari, man. Ferrari. But yeah, I think it's a good argument to say that some of these teams will disqualify. I mean, wouldn't it be crazy if, like, Lando and Oscar, it would also be such a terrible indictment on Pirelli, which is also why I'm hoping that this happens. Because as a Pirelli hater, imagine Max gets pole on the mediums. Like that, you know what I mean? Like how bad would that look for Pirelli? I'd be lapping it up. C5 better wear, more hot laps and quicker. Well, exactly. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is, the C6 tyre, if it's useless around here, it's useless everywhere, apart from maybe Monaco. But exactly, as Tassi says, this is my other thought, not many teams have spare mediums. But tomorrow, tomorrow is going to be hard medium. And if it's two-stop, it's going to be hard medium. That's what they're going to run. So, yeah, anyway, I'm Pirelli hate watching. The thing is, like, you see Max only 2/10 off on the mediums, and you think, wow, like, Max is, he's right there, which he is. But the delta between the mediums and the softs does not seem particularly clear, really. The scary thing about McLaren, again, is that Piastri did a lap. He then did another lap on the C6, and he was only, like, 4-5 tenths off on the second lap on the C6. Not sure anyone else could do that. So Belo says, Ferrari is ruining F1 right now. Which I actually almost agree with that. If Ferrari were better, if Ferrari were where they should be, we'd have a really great championship this year, and it's still going to be good. It's still going to be good. And you can never count Max out either. I think that was the other thing, is that Oscar was talking about Lando and saying that right now the better driver's winning all the races, which is true. Piastri's been better lately, for sure. But also, like, never presume that Max is out of the fight entirely. I know that he's quite a substantial amount behind now, but... And until it's mathematically impossible, I'm never counting out Max. It just is what it is. I think someone said earlier, Yuki prediction. Yeah, Yuki's had a pretty tough go of things. Yuki prediction on the day. Whew. I'm going to say Yuki P11 in quali today. For Yuki. I think he makes it a Q2. But they could be a bit of a surprise package. I mean, like, let's talk about maybe dark horses for qualifying here. So, anyway, this is right towards the end of the session. Leclerc did a decent lap in the end. You guys can just about see the timing tower on the left-hand side. Again, Williams pretty good. The Racing Bull has a big upgrade this weekend. Hadjar was looking okay as well. The Mercedes not quite as... Yeah, people are saying P8, P7... I mean, I'd really like to see it, actually. I'm a big fan of Yuki. But I just... P11 some traffic. P8, P9. Max prediction. I think coming into this weekend, I was really hoping that maybe the Mercedes would take a step. And maybe in race pace they will, but in quali it still seems like they're missing their little chunk. I'm going to say Max P2. I'm going to go Lando pole, Verstappen seconds, Piastri third, Russell fourth, Antonelli fifth, I think. I really do kind of want to believe in the Antonelli masterclass though, I really do. I'm like so here for it as well. I'm so here for it if that actually happens. Because I called it last weekend. I have to make another hot take, don't I? I have to make another little hot take today. What's my hot take going to be? Behrman, Ocon, Alonso. Maybe my hot take has to be Williams related. Because they're looking pretty good. I don't know. I'll give Albon like a P6. I'm still on the... That's not really a hot take, is it, nowadays? It's actually a boring take. But not every weekend can have an exciting story, Ronathan says, here's a not hot take, or here's not a hot take. Norris is terrible and should be out of F1. We'll see. So, I mean, look, the Williams could be real good. I think we could see the Williams out-qualify some guys on pure pace today, but it should be a super tight qualifying session again. And that's the problem for Ferrari. Like, where are the Ferraris going to finish? let me just end this poll real quick. You guys said 64% that we're going to get some sort of medium tire, 285 votes. So yeah, that's very interesting. Excited for this qualifying session. We'll go, all right, we're going to do another poll here, and we're going to say highest, oh, how exactly to do this? Highest placing for Ferrari today. And we're going to say top 3, top 5, top 7, top 10. I mean, it's pretty bad, isn't it, really? So I've not really included, like, driver by driver. I'm just saying, like, you know, if Leclerc's the faster driver, or Hamilton's the faster driver, whatever. Because I know that, again, Hamilton and Leclerc, they're both going to be fighting for their lives to get out of Q2. It is what it is. Probably the Hasses, again, I'd like to see a little Behrman Q2 appearance. I can see a 5-6 from Ferrari. Yeah, I can see something like that as well. Thing is, I mean, look, mistakes are very possible around here. We saw a lot of mistakes earlier in the day. Ferrari race pace is strong. Yeah, as we talked about yesterday, the race pace for Ferrari looks good, but they do have these brake issues. The thing is, when you've got brake issues or anything like that and the deltas are so tiny, you know, you got to think that it's difficult to have full confidence in the car. That's maybe the primary issue here. But yeah, you guys were saying Tsunoda like P8, P9. I mean, what do we think about the Aston Martins? They brought a big upgrade this weekend. We think they can do much. I mean, they were P11, P13 in this image here. Can Alonso make it to Q3? Well, I think, oh man, we're going to have some tight laps. We're going to have people coming into that final corner, coming out of the second Ravazza or whatever they call it, all over the gravel. All over the gravel. Charles P12. Oh. So Caesar, I can live com while it's happening, but obviously I can't broadcast the footage. So, but let's just say, I mean, I mentioned it on the video yesterday, we're working on a product for Breaking Point in F1 that will make that much more feasible in the near future. So, yeah, watch parties and everything, live commentaries will be happening in due course, but not at the moment because, what, you're just going to look at my face the whole time while I watch the qualifying on the screen? Probably not the best content in the world. Lance got the upgrades. Yeah, true. That is actually true, I think. At least it's my understanding that it's only Lance who got the upgrades. So maybe the upgrades are cooked, I don't know. But he does also Stroll, so you've got to consider that he might have a couple of tents that he still needs to find somewhere. Or that he's unable to find. That's a possibility. But yeah, I mean, what I love about Imola, we talked about the track earlier, is that it is such a tricky track. Like, there are so many places to make mistakes. Acqua Minerale, the final couple of corners, the chicane, of course. Like, there's so many possibilities to make errors. And that's going to be the difference maker. That's going to be the difference maker today. Just another quick little Ferrari disaster class. I don't know what you guys thought about this from yesterday when somehow Leclerc's helmet was kind of falling off. So, just Ferrari things, you know? Just Ferrari things. It is what it is. Okay, both got the upgrades today. Interesting. Mercedes will affect Ferrari quali big time. Alonso also have the upgrades now. Okay, so it looks like it's making progress then. Maybe Aston are cooking something after all. Rob, can you explain what delta means for newer F1 fans? Yeah, so delta is, effectively it just means difference, right? So it's like a physics term, really. It's like a maths term. But the delta is just X minus Y, for lack of a better term. So imagine I'm trying to overtake the car in front, but because of dirty air it's difficult, I might need a delta of half a second to do so. So I might need to be half a second faster a lap than the guy in front to actually make the overtake happen. What do I say in my videos to the lines of, I say intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. People are asking me about the floor allegation. Wow, I mean, like, we're not talking the floor of an F1 car, we're talking about Valorant drama here today. I talked about it a bit in my video. I mean, it's bad. It's bad for everyone, I think. It's actually quite shocking. Or not, depending on your perspective. I don't know. People are saying that the rumours have been going around for a few years. Don't think Ferrari are that far off. Long run pace is good. I reckon they'll finish ahead of both Mercedes. Yeah, I think it's actually a very, very important weekend for Mercedes because they've brought some sizable upgrades that they kind of need to work, because if they turn up this weekend and it doesn't really work, they've of course also got the Antonelli piece, home Grand Prix. But yeah, we got 10 minutes until the start of qualifying. Thanks for joining me as always today. Charles says, this compromise is so annoying. We need to find a solution quickly, really quickly. It's just impossible. We're not going to fix it now, but I understand. I know, but we need to. What exactly was Charles talking about here? Because I didn't get to see this live. I don't know if you guys saw what Charles was referring to, or if anyone really knows. Because yesterday was all about the brakes. Hamilton even said something very interesting. He said that they put one brake pad on and the brakes do this, and they put another brake pad on and the brakes do something different. And it's like, bloody hell, how is this, Ferrari are cooked. And then Charles talking about having to make a compromise. Yeah, is it on the brakes? Yeah, I know we talked about the brakes. But he was talking about turn 5, turn 7, turn 9, or turn 9, turn 11, something like that. Yeah, I think it is. Again, it's an issue. I said in yesterday's video, I don't know if it's related to this experiment they're doing on the rear brakes. It would be a coincidence if it wasn't related, but it may not be related. Marit says it would be the best content in the world if you did live commentary without broadcast. I do appreciate that a lot. That's actually very kind words. I'm going to do it when I can make it the actual best content in the world, which is coming soon. We're working on some things. When they became teammates 2 seasons ago, Alonso's average finish was 5.6 and Stroll's 9.3. This season, Stroll's average finish is 14th, Alonso's is 13th, walking backwards. Yeah, it's been a tough couple of years for Aston Martin. I don't know if you guys saw the images. Well, it was Adrian Newey talking about that he effectively implied he'd kind of found something in the new regulations. Any hot takes for this point in the season so far? Ooh, you know what? Let's bring up the championship standings and we'll see if we've got any hot takes in the chat here. F1 standings. The thing is, my hot takes that I like to give are on the top, because at the end of the day, do I care who finishes like P4, P5? Okay, or like P7, P8? Not really, right? So, or P16, P17. You get the picture anyway. These are the current point standings going into this weekend. And Piastri is currently leading for Lando for 16 points. I mean, look, is it a hot take to say Lando wins the championship? I don't think that's not a hot take, is it? Let's be real. It's not a hot take. But I still think that's likely. Russell at 93, Max at 99, Leclerc at 53. Yeah, Albon at 30. The thing is, the hot take coming into the season, yeah, I mean, look, the hot take is around Williams, right? But the thing is, I just don't believe it. I don't believe that Williams will outdo Ferrari. There's just no way. Like, they're just too, I don't know, a little bit too far behind. I mean, if you look at it, it's not impossible, but I just don't think Williams are going to score tons more points. Because you also got to understand that they are doing no development at all for this year's car. Their focus is fully on next year. So Williams' chances of scoring points go down every round. Compared to Ferrari, who for some reason are still bringing upgrades and are putting their back out to bring them to the car, even though the car is cooked. So I think that's a funny one. The more interesting ones are like the intra-team stuff. Is like, okay, who keeps the drive? My hot take, actually. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about this. But my hot take is that Colapinto isn't in the car next year. Is that a hot take? Dunno. They might keep him anyway because he brings so much money in. But some rookies have proved me wrong. I think Isaac Hadjar, I wasn't expecting Hadjar to be very good, right? And he's been pretty exceptional, actually. I think I've been really impressed by Hadjar. Okay, he's 16th in the championship, but like that doesn't really tell the whole story. Whereas Lawson, I don't know. Respectfully, I never thought Lawson was that good. I know that I'm literally a nobody talking here, so I do appreciate that these guys have far more talent than me, but they're also paid a lot of money to be good racing drivers, so I'm free to criticize them if they're not being good racing drivers. It is what it is. I never really rated Lawson. I thought Colapinto had a bit more promise, but I still don't think he's that good. Colapinto. I may get proven wrong here, but I think Gasly's going to smoke him, to be honest. That's my take. But is that really a hot take? Probably not. Don't know. But yeah. I like giving hot takes on things that we have no information towards, because if you give a hot take based on things we've already seen, it's like you can't say, oh, Albon's going to outscore Sainz. It's like, well, that was a good hot take before the start of the season, but it's not a hot take now. Lawson out next year. I think for sure Lawson's gone next year. I'm giving it 95% likelihood that Lawson's gone next year. Arvid Lindblad will be getting that drive. I know that they're preparing him for it, so it is what it is. All talented future champions have been underrated. All average rookies have been overrated. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying that I know ball, because everyone makes... I mean, look, Helmut Marko is very, very experienced at choosing good drivers. Well, okay, sometimes the drivers are good. Sometimes the drivers are not so good. But Marco's made plenty of mistakes. I don't know what he was thinking with Nick de Vries. But equally, Red Bull have made some good choices with their drivers. You never fully know, right? But I was on the Antonelli hype train, as I'm sure you guys remember. And I think there have been a few things that have helped Antonelli, like the car is very compliant. I think if we were driving last year's car, Antonelli would have been in the wall more than one time this season. But he's not. He's driving a more compliant Mercedes. That's helped. But also, he is also, like, insane. Big fan of Behrman. I mean, I don't know. I really like Behrman, but also he did grow up about 30 minutes from where I grew up. So there is a little bit of cheese in there. I will admit. I've got this fantasy of, like, in 5 years' time, we've got Antonelli at Mercedes, we've got Behrman at Ferrari fighting it out for championships. Or maybe even the other way around, but probably that way around. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'd love to see that. But that's pretty much my hot takes for the day. Ferrari ride height is raised because they don't have the anti-dive. Ferrari are just like, they've got everything wrong. But I think you're probably right about the ride height, actually, because I think we saw that at the start of the season, especially after they got disqualified, of course, that since then they've had to just raise the ride height, and it's been basically a disaster everywhere they've gone since then. So not exactly expecting that to change. Okay, I just have one final little quote before qualifying gets underway. Max says the car feels better. Is it going to be enough? Not sure, but I feel happier. That's the most important thing for us. Try to do our own thing. You get lucky, you get lucky. You need to focus on yourself. Is it going to be another Max Masterclass today? I'm taking Lando for pole. You guys are taking Oscar for pole, but Max is a close seconds. Love to see Antonelli in the mix. But I think Piastri is Max in that fantasy. Yeah, possibly. 2 minutes to a quality start. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll be seeing you in roughly a couple of hours' time. So I'm going to watch quali. I'm going to enjoy quali because it is one of the sessions of the year in terms of importance. We know that overtaking is a challenge around here. So quali's massively important for the Grand Prix. We know how difficult it was last year for Max to get past, or Lando to get past Max, which never happened in the end. But yeah, been a good hour. Thanks for all tuning in. Be back again tomorrow for the pre-race show and every single Grand Prix for the rest of the season, as long as it's actually a good time for me. The European round is beautiful. Okay, take care everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.